Hi everybody. So today I'm going to talk about my personal project. Sorry if I look a little bit tired. I am a little bit tired. I will say that. I felt like that was actually a good state of mind to be in when I recorded this video because when you're in college and you're told doing personal projects is a really good way to boost your resume and get yourself a good job, and you're thinking, well, I'm already doing full-time classes and I'm working a part-time job. When in the world am I supposed to find time to do that? Well, you get kind of tired. That's how it goes. So my personal project, I call it the ground up for a reason because I actually did all of this from the ground up as far as you can, anyways, as much as you can. So what you're seeing here is an image of a computer that I built. I don't remember the exact specs because I have upgraded it. I actually still have it and I still have this project on it, which is why I want to show you guys that. Now, we're going to get into some of the details here in a second, but the computer is basically, something you can buy these parts off Amazon and you can just plug and play Legos, as the, PC people like to say. But it's not that simple, and it was something I built on my own, so that's the first part of the project and I am proud of it. Now, what I did was I actually installed a server on this, and what I mean by that is I downloaded a client called XAMPP. I was calling it XAMPP at the time, and with that comes quite a few things. We're talking about Apache, first of all, very widely used web server. That comes with PHP, which is a server-side coding language. There are a lot of people that are not huge fans of PHP, but a good thing about PHP is that you can pick up PHP really quickly and you can use it without a whole lot of overhead. It comes with a MySQL server, which is still widely in use today, although it has been somewhat replaced by one called MariaDB, which is pretty much the exact same thing. A lot behind that story, not going to talk about it in this video. And with all that, and there are a few other things, but with all that, you can start building a website basically with a database behind it. And that's what I set out to do. Basically what happened to me was I wanted to share my projects if I was going to make them. I felt like, well, I want people to be able to see what I'm doing and comment on it and interact with it. I thought that was way cooler than me sitting there coding and not really trying to share anything until I had a finished product. If I could get commentary along the way, that makes it a lot more fun for me. So, enough talking, let me go ahead and show you the project itself. Okay, here we are guys. So you're seeing the front page of the website, but before I go into that, I want to go into how I set it up on this computer. Now, not everyone can afford to build their own computer. I was thinking about that. I want to let you know that you can do this just as well on a laptop, or it really doesn't take much to make this happen. This is not a heavy thing, and I don't think doing it on a laptop would take much away from it. So the first thing I did was I installed this program here called XAMPP. Now it's a little small, you might not be able to see it too well, but I can't actually make this bigger because this is a very bare bones program. So what this has on it is an Apache server, MySQL, and that's what I'm using right now. There, you can also do file transfer and all that with other stuff, and I have actually utilized some of that, but the Apache and MySQL are what's important. PHP is baked into it, so that does come as part of this package. And you get your nice little shell here that you can push that, and yes, if you didn't know, this is basically XAMPP for Windows, and you get more or less a little Linux command line here, which I thought is pretty cool, and you can use that to do commands on, on MySQL, but you actually don't have to, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. So that's how it runs. You set this up. This was actually created to test PHP code, and that's originally all I was trying to do was test PHP code. I am not a PHP developer. I learned it. It was a quarter of a class that I took in college, and it was just enough to get me into it, and I thought it was really cool, a server-side language like this. I just thought that was something I would get into, and I did get into it, but unfortunately today I don't remember it that well. I would not consider myself a competent PHP developer at this very moment. Now, I could study up on it, I could get back there, but, Anyway, let's get to the website. So, here we are. You have this website, and you can see there's a username and password box up here. You can sign in, sign up, and there's all these little different, I've made these little buttons that light up when you mouse over them. Now you got this image dump, and you're going to see, these were when I was testing the server before this video, and all the way back you'll see older and older pictures of me. Some, wow, yeah. So anyway, so now there's this comment section that I can't comment on, but these are a lot of people that I was showing it to. Some of these are people, as you can see further down, that actually were my friends in college. Still consider them my friends today, of course. And they, in some cases, were trying to test it to see if they could break out, but I sanitized their input to prevent them from doing that. So if you're doing something where you kind of want to prove that you're decent with security, that is a pretty cool thing to do, to kind of show it. And that's not the only thing I did to show that I could make a security conscious program. So let's do sign in and sign up. I will warn you, this one I haven't really tested, and you can see when you go to this one, it's not really loading up right. That's because I haven't fixed it and actually never really got it quite right, and I'm not going to now. But it does work. So I'm going to make a username. I'm just going to do my name, Mark Hensley, and then I'm going to make a username. Just do it Yahoo12, and the password, make it something really easy to remember for this demonstration, and then I'm going to push sign up. You will see this password later. Okay, so at this point it's redirecting me, and hopefully this works because I didn't fix all of these, so it's possible because this used to be running on the actual web. I actually coded it to, and I don't think it's going to make it, so let me just take it back there manually. So let me just go index.php. Okay, so I have actually fixed some of these for this demonstration. I was not using canonical URLs in some cases, which is something I've learned to do, and something looking at the code that I did, I actually knew how to do. I was just lazy. This is my personal project. That's one good thing about personal projects, and we're going to talk about that in a second. So I've made a username. I think it was Yahoo12, right? Yep. And Chrome remembers for me. Thank you, Chrome. And really simple password, and I'll push login. Now this one I did patch by just adding the canonical URL, but I promise that what you're seeing here is stuff I did in college. I changed a few URLs to be canonical so that they work again since I can't actually access the domain name. So anyway, you can see it says my username, you are logged in, gives me an option to log out. Not going to do that right now. So yes, looking at this, I did use a picture for text. Zoomy. This is my little project. So now, with the image dump, I can actually choose a file to upload to this. So let's do that. Let's see if it works. It doesn't work for everything. Well, I'll just pick this one. I know I've already done it, but here we go. And I'll push upload, and it will say this image was uploaded. It was not always this fast, obviously. I am right on the machine, so it's going to be pretty fast to upload that image, and you can now see there is another version of that. Let me see if I can find another one from my, let's just choose my little tile holder here that I use for my videos and upload that. That's a PNG. Let's see if this one works. I do remember there was a little bit of a bug in it where not everything would work, but as you can see, this one does, and there's my little holder right there, my tile holder as I call it for some reason. It just got uploaded. So you can upload images to this website, and it's a pretty cool little thing. I don't know if I have the code up for that. I don't think so. I don't think that was one I really wanted to show. What I do want to show is when you're working with these servers, you have to work with these config files. And there were a lot of things like I did at the time that I was using this as a personal project on my resume. I had a SSL certificate running on this, and I had to do a lot of work in these config files to make that work. That was not the easiest thing to do, and the reason for that is this, XAMPP is not really meant to host a real live website. And security certificate, I found a ton of tutorials that were like how to do it for your own computer, but to do it for the web with an actual signed certificate, that was difficult. I used Namecheap for the host there, and I actually had a decent amount of trouble getting this to work, and their support was excellent. I highly recommend them, just only based on, what I did for this, with the certificate, really. So that's all the experience I have with them. I can't comment on them beyond that. So actually, let me show you something. We were talking about the image upload. So let me actually show you kind of the file system that this uses. So if I go back to Visual Studio Code, I can do a file, open file. And this is kind of the folder structure you get. You get XAMPP, and it's got all this stuff in it. So all your stuff is going to be stored in htdocs. That's where all your pages and whatnot are going to be stored. Apache has the config files. That's where you're going to have to work to actually configure the server to do things that it doesn't do out of the box. And I actually found that to be one of the more challenging parts about this project. And of course I did it day by day when I could, because it was on my own time, not for a grade, Nothing like that. That's the point of a personal project. So let's see if I can find the PHP script for uploading things. It's probably in here somewhere. Okay, I found it. Here it is. Image dump. Sorry that took so long. So basically, this little PHP file that I'm going to open in Visual Studio Code is what handles the file coming in that the user uploads. And the cool thing, it's not too much, and again, I haven't done PHP for a while, but you can see what it's doing. It's allowed image types, and then it's checking the file size to make sure it's not too big. I didn't want somebody dumping their entire hard drive onto mine. This was on the internet, so I didn't really want to. Oh, yeah, this little echo, you suck. That's if you don't put an image in there, and it will actually just say you suck, and I might show you that. So anyway, this is the code for actually uploading the image. I felt like that was worth seeing, and I think it was also worth you seeing the file structure within the server. So let's go back to look at other things you can do. So comments, you can write comments. So I'll just write hello from YouTube, right? So then you would push submit, and it'll say thank you for posting. By the way, just to let you know, these redirects are totally for show, so the user feels like they did something. I realized when I initially made this that when they clicked it and just went immediately back for the user, it would feel like nothing had happened. So the redirect it's really there, just nothing's really happening. It's just letting them know that something happened. So there you go, hello from YouTube. You can see the timestamp, you can see the username on it, right? So like I said, a lot of these comments down here, they're from my friends from college, and you can see a lot of them tried to break it, which I was okay with them doing. I actually asked them to. So if we go through the pages, one more thing I do want to show you before we go through the pages. So I can push, this restore button, and oh yeah, you can see my Steam account now. So that's fine. I have been really into Flight Simulator lately, but that's not really what I wanted to show you. What I really want to show you is that this website is, so I've zoomed in on it for this video. So let me zoom out a little bit to make it, more realistic phone screen size. So there we go. This is what it would look like on a phone, and I actually did pull it up on a phone all the time back when it was live, because I knew if I was going into an interview, I could pull it up on my phone and say, yeah, here's what I did, right? And then I talk to them about, how I did it. You can see it actually changes some of the colors of things to make it more visible, like the usernames are now yellow because there's not the horizontal separation any longer. And yeah, so let's go back full screen, and if anyone wants to comment on the games I have on the left, feel free. Okay, so if I go to the next page, and I will zoom back in for you because I realized this would be really hard to see. I think I was around this size. Okay, so I had a little news section, and as you can see, 2018, I just manually, I hard-coded these as I wanted to. My first post was on 4/20/2017. I don't know if I picked that on purpose, but yeah. So basically, this is, I post little news, and the last one was posted 2/3/2018. That is not the last time I did work on this, but it was getting close at that point, I would say. I probably didn't make it past like middle of 2018 when it came to working on this personal project, because by that point I was kind of already into an internship, so I, felt like it was good enough. So yeah, I have a video section, and what do you know? Here's my early videos that I made back in the day. I've embedded them as YouTube videos. That is not a hard thing to do at all. So if we go to code, this is a bunch of stuff I did that were not, other personal projects that I worked on. Some were in Java, other things. And I have in images where I think I have a picture of ducks, and you can't see those pictures because they're so small, but you can download them if it was still live anyway. Then I had documents, something I did in school. I don't want to go over things I did in school. This is about personal projects. So if I go back to pages, this is actually one of the cooler things, is that this was in school, this was in school. This was my first kind of page I made that was not in school, and I want to show you guys this. For anyone that's heard of Bogosort, what I did was code that up in PHP. I did that specifically because my professor said that PHP was not meant to be used for complex algorithms, so I don't like people telling me what to do. This algorithm is a sorting algorithm that basically it's like throwing a deck of cards at the wall and picking them up randomly over and over until you pick them up in order. So if I push submit on a number 4, you'll see it takes it a little while to get the right number, but it will eventually get it, as it did here. If you had 4 cards and you did it 50 times, this time around, that's how many times it took. Now, this is more of a computer science topic, and I'd like to go into this one later. Now, if I were to do something like 16, and I'm going to have to get out of here quick because it's going to freeze stuff up, but you can see it's having a real rough time, and it'll just go down and down and down and down, and I can't even pull the scroll bar down fast enough to keep up with it, because PHP's, it's pretty quick, you know? No complex algorithms. What does she know? Anyway, so it will just keep going and going for a long, long time, so I'm going to abort and get out of here because, yeah, I don't want it to lock anything up. Let's see if it can even make it out. Maybe. I might just close it. I'm going to close it. Yeah. Goodbye. Okay. So this game, I don't have listed on my website, but I used my server to make this. I just never got around to actually posting it on the actual main pages. So this is something I did in Angular, AngularJS. And AngularJS is something I work in today. It's a good amount of the coding I do at work. So I'm really glad I did this because it got me learning this stuff. So if anyone steals my idea for this game, I'm going to be mad. But the idea of this game is that you get questions that are numbers based, and like, how old is this? How long ago did this happen? How many days did it take? Stuff like that. So let's just go through it. So I'm going to do 2 players, even though there's only one here. And apparently it remembers the ones I typed in last time, but normally, that's Chrome for you, I think. So you give your player names and you push start. And I'm not sure how let's do an okay. So how many years did it take to build the Golden Gate Bridge? Okay. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit on this because while this is kind of responsive, apparently I never got it quite perfect. So let's zoom out a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to guess that it took 5 years to build it, and Bob's going to guess 12. So we'll give an answer. And it jumps away and it gives you the actual answer, 4 years, right? So I won that round. So push next. Oh, well, that might be as far as actually, I think that's as far as I developed it. And the idea was that this was going to just continue going and add up scores for everybody, and the scores would be proportional to how close you were to the right answer, giving bonus points for being within 1, 2, or 3, or real bonus points for being real close. So let's look at the code on this. This is again, I am not a PHP developer. I do AngularJS, and I use a lot more jQuery than I did AngularJS here. Part of that is because I did not have, this server is a little bit older, and I did not have all of the components I needed to actually do some of the server-side rendering on this. But anyway, so if I go to, I think it's this one. Yes, I'm all the way at the bottom here. Let's go at the top. So, no, this is not it. This is my original index, I think. Yep, here it is right here. Okay, so as you can see, I have a bunch of, it really doesn't like center in Visual Studio Code anymore. It's deprecated now, I get that. And it was deprecated when I used it. Hey, don't judge me. This was my personal project. I did it for fun. And you can see I have a whole bunch of different divs and all that. Classes. Yes, I actually tried to exercise my object-oriented programming at that time. And then using Angular, the Angular module. And you can see I'm using a lot of jQuery. But I do use some Angular in here. It's just there's a lot of animation, so it took quite a few for each thing to happen. But I would use Angular for the functions and everything, and scope.toggle, stuff like that. I did use quite a bit of that. So this was a long time ago, so if I'm being honest, it's hard for me to just describe to you what everything does. Obviously, the jQuery animate is pretty obvious, pretty self-explanatory. A lot of stuff that I did on CSS and that to make it move the way that it does. And then here's all the questions. Look, I hard-coded them, and I never followed through on making the whole thing actually totally work. And one day I may go back and actually make it work just for the heck of it. And who knows, maybe it'll be really loved and I'll become a millionaire off of it. I kind of doubt it. So I think, did we look at the login? So this is the login, and here's something that you can see where I'm actually doing the SQL statement, right? Select data, all from user data where UID equals UID. This is pulling the UID in, and it's doing some stuff here, checking the session, basically giving the user a cookie to say that they're logged in. And I'm sure for anyone who's an expert in PHP security, there is something that I am missing here. But yeah, don't criticize me too much. I was just experimenting and learning. So let's go over a little bit more of how this works. So if I go back to my internet browser, this is phpMyAdmin. So phpMyAdmin, you do not have to use this, but it is built into XAMPP. And this is how I store the data for things like users and comments and things like that. So here you can see the user data, and I may need to refresh it because I just made this new username, so it's probably not going to see it. All right, it worked. Okay, so let's see if I can find first last UID. Where's my Yahoo? It should be here somewhere. I might have to actually refresh it. Let's see, do I have more than one page? Number of rows, let's do 50. Oh, there it is, Yahoo, right at the bottom, where it should be. My name, Yahoo, and what are these? These are the passwords. So what did I do here? I hashed and salted the passwords as a student in college. Now, I say it that way because there are companies out there today. One of them I know is named Net10. They are a mobile provider that sells the prepaid phones that I was using at this point. And I learned that they were not hashing and salting their passwords because they were able to send my password back to me. If you're wondering why, when you go to fix your password stuff, why don't they just send you your password back? Well, this is why. Basically, they don't really have your password. They put it through a bunch of algorithms that turn it into this, and they only know it's right if it matches this. So they can't actually tell you what it is unless they didn't do this. In that case, they can send you your password. So anytime that you have a company send you your password back, just understand that your stuff is really, really not secure. So yeah, this is most of what I wanted to talk about here, I think, and let's meet you back at the camera. Okay, so I want to talk about a few things after this, and the first one is, why is this not live anymore? And this is where I want to call out a few companies, but one in particular. So when I had this in Orlando, I was on Bright House, or whatever they're calling themselves now, and they offered me a static IP address. They were an excellent host for this. So I was able to get that static IP address, configure the router to send traffic to my machine when it was called upon. That was part of the project that I can't really show you because I don't really have access to it anymore. You do have to go in and configure the router to tell incoming signals from the internet, hey, you're looking for markspot.us, you mean this local IP address on our network. And then, it all works. It's actually pretty darn cool, and I'd like to do a video on that one day. I made the mistake of registering my domain name with a company called GoDaddy, right? And so, since I have Verizon here now, they do not give you a static IP. It's not an option for you. So that's the first one I'm kind of calling out for that, although I don't want to hate on them because their internet service is really good. Verizon Fios is really good. Verizon, if you have a representative listening, let me have a static IP address, please. But GoDaddy is the one I really want to get down on because there is something out there I could use to get around this called DDNS. And GoDaddy does not support DDNS. I do not see a good reason for them to not support it, especially considering how big of a company they are. So let's get to this. Why do I think that this is a good personal project back when I was doing it and still today? Well, first, it shows that you can build things and not just write code, right? It shows I can write code, but it also shows I can build things and build things that people need. People need login systems. People want users to be able to post things into databases. That's the kind of stuff we do in IT development. Now, I work in ServiceNow development now. A lot of that is taken care of for me, but the ability to do all that helped me in my career, especially the fact that for that one particular thing I showed you, I used AngularJS. That really helped to get me where I am today, where I'm doing service portal development in ServiceNow. It's pretty much a skill that you have to have. So there's a lot of skills covered in this. And when you're a developer, you might think, oh, I just write code. Well, it depends on where you're working, I'm sure. But what I've seen is it's not just about writing code. It's about being able to implement a system. That there's a project and you need to be familiar with different types of technology and how they work. Building something like this from the ground up shows them that you know how these different things work. Even if you're not an expert in any of them, that's important in an IT development role, that you can interface with these other technologies that you're not directly working with, or I should say they're not your expertise, right? Now, the ability to build something from the ground up shows that you can get things done. That's probably the biggest thing, is that I wanted to do this, I wanted to have a server, and I built it from the ground up. I found software that I needed to do it, I installed it, I configured it. I actually had an SSL certificate, so you would actually, if you went to my website a few years ago, you would get the lock and key over it. I had it looking, well, it was really a completely legitimate website. And one thing, as far as the security stuff goes, other than the stuff I showed you on the computer, is I would say, hey, as far as security goes, this is something people don't realize, is that this looks like a legitimate website, and it is technically. I'm not a bad guy, but if I can build it, EvilMark can build it. And it looks completely legit, but it's a computer running in some guy's apartment. And I think that was the coolest thing. What I would share this in interviews is that, yeah, I set up a server in my apartment, right? It's not just, oh yeah, I went and rented one from AWS or something like that. No, I built a physical server, which, yeah, it's just a computer, right? That's all a server is it's a big computer. This one wasn't really big, but it was a server. So I built it, I hooked it up, physically. I configured the network to use it. So anyone who wants to go into networking, this can give you a little bit there. I wrote all of the code that it runs on. I made it responsive, at least to a decent degree. I was able to work with databases enough to write PHP code that communicated with the databases. So am I an expert in SQL? No, or PHP for that matter. But am I an expert in SQL? No, I'm definitely not. But I knew it well enough to write that code to interface with the database. So it's stuff like that. I would not claim that to be an expert in all of these things because that's ridiculous. But I can get stuff done. That's basically where I was coming from there. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to ask them in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you dislike it, I don't know why you did. I don't know, maybe it's because I look tired, but give it a dislike, I guess. If you like this channel, feel free to subscribe. And I want to thank you for watching this video on a project that I'm very proud of and I have no doubt helped me in my career. Have a good night.